Hello everyone, welcome back to the Daily Answer Writing Initiative at 9 pm. I am Mohana Priya from Officers IAS Academy. So let us start the discussion for Day 12 model question. The question was, what do you understand by the term urban heat islands? Analyze the causes of urban heat islands and the potential mitigation strategies. So before we start the discussion, let me just give you an overview of what exactly this urban heat islands are. So urban heat islands refers to the city regions or the urban areas where the temperature is comparatively higher and they are warmer than the surrounding suburban and rural areas. So this is the phenomenon of urban heat islands. We need to understand what are the causes, what leads to this higher temperature in the city regions compared to the surrounding regions. So the causes of urban heat island. Okay, we're going to discuss the causes. The first main cause being this rapid urbanization. The urban areas are becoming crowded. More people are coming and settling in the urban areas, because of which there is a rising population in the city regions, because of which there is more usage of vehicles, air conditioners, yes, which is releasing a lot of heat energy along with the pollutants. Along with this, in order to accommodate the huge number of inflow of people into these urban areas, we have buildings which are being constructed on large scale, more number of buildings, and the materials which are used for the buildings, which includes bricks, asphalt, cement, steel, all these have a huge heat retaining capacity. They absorb a lot of heat and retain within them. So the cities are becoming congested. In order to accommodate the more amount of people who are coming into the cities, more number of buildings are being constructed, and these building materials are becoming a huge factor for retaining the huge amount of heat energy. The solar radiation is getting trapped by these building materials. Not only are the materials responsible, but also the planning. The buildings are constructed very close to each other such that they trap a lot amount of heat within them. There is no way or medium for the heat to escape at all. They get trapped within the congested planning which is done. And one important reason is, in order for the construction of these buildings to happen, trees are being destroyed at a huge scale. Deforestation. The trees, plants are all being removed at a large scale, and this is a very direct cause of urban heat island, because trees act as a natural air conditioner. Let me tell you how. The trees are involved in the process of evapotranspiration, where they absorb water from the ground surface through their roots, and the water is let out in the form of water vapor through the process of evapotranspiration. For the trees or the plants to convert the water into water vapor, they require heat, and these trees act as natural air conditioners because they absorb the heat from the surrounding regions and make use of that heat energy to get themselves involved in this process of evapotranspiration. So when trees are getting cut on a huge scale, we're losing our natural air conditioners, because of which the cities are becoming very, very warm compared to the surrounding regions. These are few important causes of the urban heat islands. Having discussed the causes, what can this lead to? What can be the possible impacts of urban heat islands? Urban heat islands will lead to increased energy consumption. How can urban heat islands lead to increased energy consumption? So when the temperature of the cities is increasing, when people are feeling more warmth around them, more heat around them, they tend to use air conditioners. They tend to start using more number of air conditioners. They'll feel the requirement of air conditioners on a large scale, more amount of fans. So the need to switch on the fans and ACs will increase on a large scale. Yes, and because of which there'll be a huge increase in the energy consumption. In order to meet this rising demands of energy, we need to have more electricity produced, because of which the pressure will be on the thermal power plants, which act as the major source of our power. And what is used as a fuel? We have the fossil fuels which act as the source of energy in this thermal power plants. So burning of these fossil fuels will lead to more amount of greenhouse gas emissions, which will start increasing the level of pollutants. Yes, there'll be more amount of fossil fuels burnt, which will directly increase more number of greenhouse gases. Apart from this, since there is more amount of pollutants being added to the environment, it can result in health issues. Yes, there is increased case of there's increasing amount of particulate matter in the atmosphere, because of which people will start having lung diseases, there can be heart problems, there will be health issues. And another concept called stormwater runoff, that is, okay, we have all the pavements, roads in the city regions which are made up of impermeable materials, meaning they do not have the capacity to absorb the water which flows due to a rain which occurs in that particular region. The water which drains is what we call as storm water. All these storm water, since they're not absorbed by the land surface, they all get into the drains. And since they pass through the pavements, buildings, roads, which are all heated up, they tend to absorb that heat energy and they go and drain into the rivers, natural reservoirs, oceans, thus increasing the temperature of the oceans also, which can directly impact the aquatic life. Yes, these are the few impacts of urban heat islands. So having discussed the impacts of the urban heat islands, it is important to discuss what are the potential mitigation strategies that can be adopted in order to tackle this phenomenon of urban heat islands. So what can be done? We can start increasing the number of trees, that is, more afforestation strategies can be planned, so we can start planting more number of trees. Yes, so that is one important step that can be taken, and we can start replacing the impervious materials which are used in the buildings by permeable materials, by more materials which reflect the heat energy rather than absorbing them. We can replace the colors. Instead of using dark color paints, we can start using light color paints. Yes, rooftop gardens is also one of the strategy. So these are all few steps that can be taken in order to tackle this phenomenon of urban heat island. So this was an overview of the concept of urban heat island. Now let's get back to the question. So I think this was a very direct question. Yes, what do you understand by the term urban heat islands? We'll have to analyze the causes of urban heat islands and the potential mitigation strategies. A very, very simple direct question. So you will start with the definition of urban heat islands. Yes, so it refers to the areas with urban or metropolitan regions that experience a higher temperature compared to the surrounding regions. A very simple definition. Yes, what are the causes? So we've discussed the causes: removal of natural vegetation, limited presence of green spaces, and we have the building materials which are covered with impervious materials. So that is another cause. Tall buildings and dense construction. I told you, there's congested construction patterns which are followed in the city regions. Human activities, anthropogenic activities like transportation, industrial processes, which is contributing to the local warming conditions, and increased use of air conditioning and heating systems. Yes, these are the causes of the urban heat islands. So the next part of the question was to address what are the possible mitigation strategies. So you need to write points for providing the mitigation strategies. Yes, so planting trees and creating green spaces. Yes, and then use of cool roof materials and developing urban planning systems. Effective urban planning is one important step towards this tackling of urban heat islands. Yes, energy efficient building designs and implementing building codes and standards to incorporate heat resilient designs. So these are few mitigation strategies which can be adopted. So how can we conclude this question? Mitigating the urban heat island. So you can discuss the impacts here. So it is not only very crucial for reducing the energy consumption, also lowering the cooling cost, but also to improve the overall living conditions in an urban area, to improve the quality of life, isn't it? And you can mention the sustainable development goal in your conclusion. So usually remember all these sustainable development goals, because you can use it for your introductions or conclusions in most of your mains answers. So this is a proper conclusion which you can give. So you can incorporate the impacts, and you can say that it is important to take about this mitigation strategies as soon as possible in order to avoid all the possible impacts of urban heat islands. Yes, so this is the answer for the urban heat island question. And now we'll discuss few of the answer sheets. So first answer sheet was that of Esther Tamlar. See, yes. So you can, as far as her paper was concerned, so you can directly start with the definition. You need not go about with writing this subheading in the introduction itself. The introduction you can directly start. So she's written certain area within the city. So it is not very specific. It's generally a city region which is having a higher temperature compared to the surrounding regions, and there is no specific value. So without having a clarity in the definition, please do not write your own values. So there is no specific value as to this is the amount of degrees the temperature has to be higher than the surrounding areas. So please avoid doing this. And then she has addressed all the parts of the question. So she has written the causes of urban heat islands as well. Yes. So urbanization, that's true. And then we have the usage of concrete and cement building with dark surface. Yes. And she's drawn a diagram here. Yes. Oh, I'm very sure that this diagram would have taken a very long time. So it's not necessary that you have to incorporate such detailed diagrams. So you need not spend more than 30 seconds for a diagram. So it has to be simple and representative, which can be more than enough. And always put these diagrams within a box and give them a title. So without a title and a box, it doesn't convey anything to the examiner. So please do not draw a diagram without a box. Yes. And then scarcity of trees, increased carbon emissions. So all the points for the causes is right. And then she's written the mitigation strategies also: urban vegetated canopies, infrastructure planning, transportation planning, improved technology. And the conclusion is very generalistic. So as I told, you can try to incorporate the impacts of urban heat islands in your conclusion to make your highlight the importance of the mitigation strategies. Yes. And then moving on to the second paper, which is Sri Sai Hemala Hari. So in this paper, the person has, of course, started with the definition of urban heat islands, which is fine. And so then we have the causes of urban heat islands. So all the points, the causes were right, but they were too generalistic. Try to be specific. So you can add quite specific points. Yes, dark surfaces points were all correct only. And then mitigation strategies. Yes, increase in green cover, Miyawaki method, electric vehicles, preserving urban wetlands, all this was fine. Yes, and this is a global issue and due to anthropogenic factors. So again, this was a very generalistic conclusion. So try to link your conclusions with the sustainable development goals, some current affairs, so that it becomes more enhanced. And then there was this another paper, which I do not want to reveal the name, but however, I wanted to show this paper because there was a diagram. So geography paper, in the answers, geography answers or the GS answers, it's good that you draw a diagram and incorporate some map or something, but it is not mandatory that you have to draw some map or the other. Here, this particular person has drawn a map of India and he or she has marked few places in it. So it's not necessary that only these cities that you've marked in India are experiencing the phenomenon of urban heat islands. It's not mandatory. So it happens even in a very small localized region. So this map is of there is of no relevance to this particular question. So please avoid drawing such maps, and there's no title also. So it is quite unclear as to what you're trying to convey. So I wanted to show this paper just because of this reason. And causes of urban heat islands, again, the other parts of the question was fine. So the causes, mitigation strategies, everything was fine. I think most of the papers, the structure of this answer did not have any issue because it was a very direct question. So most of the papers that we have seen, the structure of the answer, they've addressed all the parts of the questions. Only the number of points were very less in few papers. Only that aspects had to be improved. So this again was a very generalistic conclusion. So you can all work on your conclusion part a little bit. Yes, so having discussed the model answer for the day 12, I would like to give the question for the day 13. Why is lead toxicity a source of public health concern in India? Discuss. So this is a 10-mark question. So keep writing the answers on an everyday basis. This is going to be very, very useful for you. Thank you so much.